Gamer Feed Radio.
What's going on, everybody out there in podcast universe?
Yeah!
This is Gamer Feed Radio. I'm joined this evening by the two greatest guys, the greatest guys that a guy could ask for, the one and only Brad Wallace and Kyle Pope. We're all together.
Hello. You could say we're two guys. Two wild and crazy guys.
That's what I'm talking about. So, it's been a while since we've all been together, so I'm thrilled for this.
It has been a while.
Family-friendly reunion.
Yeah. No profanity this time.
Well, I mean, we can work on it. Hey, I have an emergency sound effect that I can inject if anyone drops any F-bombs. But if we can all be on our bestest behavior...
I mean...
I can try.
I've still never really understood the rules on that. Sometimes I can drop an S-bomb, sometimes I can't.
Yeah, look, I mean, generally speaking, if it's not an F-bomb, it's okay if you get emotional while you're discussing a very impassioned topic. But F-bombs are, like, right out. Other than that, I don't care. As long as I don't have to go back and do it 17,000 times...
Sure.
And, mark the podcast explicit. We're good to go. So, not that anybody really cares about any of that, because I'm sure there's an audience that would love for us to have a rated, 26X show.
Something we've been talking about doing for months now.
Yes, we have talked about it, and I still think it would be funny. Maybe, like, around Halloween, we can, like, pretend to be people we're not, a podcast we're not, and, could be fun.
Worst idea, best idea I've ever heard. I thought you were going to say for Halloween we all act like a character and we do a podcast as a character.
Well, we all know who you would be, Brad.
I know, and I was just thinking that's the saddest part.
Wait,
what?
I would be late Nintendo president Satoru Iwata.
Oh, that's terrible.
No, it's not terrible. It would be an excellent homage.
It's in honor of a great man.
Yes,
I think it would be Solid Snake.
And
I could. I can't do the snarl.
And there would be a lot of bowing and hand gesturing and pointing, and it would be great.
Metal Gear.
As long as everybody has some bananas.
Oh yeah,
yeah, gotta have those bananas. Okay, anyway, so today's show is all about the state of RPGs.
Woo! Rocket-propelled grenades.
I mean, so we.
Wait, what are we talking about?
The state of the RPG, and we have had a lot of conversation in the last couple weeks about, just the new games that are coming out. Last week, Kyle and I, super complained about the delayed release of Final Fantasy 15, which was announced at Gamescom, and a bunch of other stuffs. So, just to kick it off so that everybody kind of has a general idea of where we are, we have all played RPGs of all different types. What type do we like the best? So you could pick from, I don't know how you word it, but there's turn-based, there's like the strategy kind, there's active battle, there's mobile, there's all different kinds. Whoever wants to go first, I don't care, fight for it, argue, arm wrestle.
I'll go for it.
Go.
I'm answering. Okay. So, growing up, I was a child of the Game Boy years. So, like many Game Boy kids, I got my copy of Pokemon Blue version.
True.
And that was probably the first regular real RPG classic turn-based, not that it's simple or because it's obviously very deep in Pokemon. There's so many different stats and all this business.
I'm sure they think that too anyway.
Relatively straightforward.
Blue,
oh yeah, of course.
Blue is always the best.
For sure. No doubt about it. But
Team Blastoise.
That was my exactly. That was my first real RPG. But, through the years, whenever I tried to play any other Japanese RPG, I never really, played Final Fantasy because I didn't have a PlayStation, so that was, kind of out of my world. I've watched friends play, Final Fantasy X when that came out, and it was kind of cool, but it just never quite, grabbed me the same way that Pokemon did. And I will say that one Japanese RPG that I was, obsessed with was Golden Sun, which I don't know if that counts as a Japanese RPG.
No, it does. Yeah, basically. I mean, anything that has so much text that you really should just buy a book and read it, it counts.
Yeah, I just bought it on. Not bought it, but I got it from Club Nintendo on Wii U.
Yeah. Recently, before they shut it down.
Yeah. It was like one of the last rewards that you could, whatever with it. So I got that.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, so I've played it back in the day on Game Boy Advance, but wow, I completely forgot. You're so right. How much just pressing A to advance the text there is in that game. Literally the first 2 hours is an hour and 50 minutes of text. There's 10 minutes of maybe gameplay. So that was a bit, over the top. But I still love the game. It's still a fun game.
So you're a turn-based guy, is what you're saying.
Right, and I don't know, it depends, but I was going to say now more modern times, fast forward to me in the past, 5 years, definitely my favorite genre is the Elder Scrolls style, open world, action-based, real-time, specifically the Bethesda style and Bethesda games in particular, Oblivion, Skyrim, Morrowind are a holy trinity of RPGs to me that are just untouchable. So that's my favorite right now. But to give a little background, I do appreciate, the turn-based Japanese game. I've never done I know some of them have this active-based timer system, and I've never done any of that. But in general, put a Bethesda-style game in front of me, and that's my style of art.
That's your jam.
That's my jam.
Absolutely.
All right. Interesting. Kyle. What's your favorite type of game? Past, present, whatever.
Well, you know what? I mean, I've always endorsed the JRPG on this show. I love series like Final Fantasy and Persona. I also love the Golden Sun series, Pokemon, obviously. But later on, especially in the 360 era, where I got kind of introduced to the more the our style, the modern style of RPGs like Mass Effect and Fallout and Skyrim and Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls series to an extent. I also found appreciation for action-based RPGs. And even from JRPGs, styles like Kingdom Hearts, where it's an action-based RPG, not your typical turn-based JRPG. So both kind of have a special place in my heart, and it's kind of hard to pick between the two because obviously I think the action base is more immersive and you're more action based, obviously. That sounded redundant as crap. But, and like Brad said, I grew up in the golden age of the turn-based RPG with Pokemon and Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 6, Chrono Trigger, Mario RPG, all of which are some of my favorite games of all time, but so is Fallout, and so is the Mass Effect series. The Mass Effect series is I played that so late. Mass Effect 3 was already a thing. All the internet complaining was already over with, and I just picked it up after all that kind of fell through. And damn, that game blows my mind. I'll never forget realizing during Mass Effect 2 when all my decisions from the first game affected the game. It took me 2 hours into it to figure that out, but I was like, no way. Just I've always been used to games kind of just picking up from the beginning and end and, not being affected by other titles. And so that was really cool to me. So the modern action-based stuff like Mass Effect 3, I kind of got to give it to that. I guess after random soul searching just now as we speak.
Oh my god!
Nice.
I got to give it to the action-based because it gives the same experience that all the old turn-based style does. With you're leveling up your characters and making them the best they can be, but at the same time you're not just scrolling through a list of things, pressing A, and then attacking, and then your enemy attacks, and then attack back and forth. That gets a little stale after a while. And, so I got to give this one to the action-based one, where I can just, go freaking full rando on some people. And
oh, my God. Well, I mean, that's fair. So for me, I mean, I think, I I was not a big Pokemon person, honestly. In fact, I wasn't even really a big handheld person until Game Boy Advance, and by then, it was limited, and that was just due to funds and other things. But
we also had the worst Pokemon.
Yeah, it was. It's definitely not my thing. But like the Final Fantasy series, of course, anybody who's listened to this show forever has known that that's like obviously a thing for me. Chrono Trigger, one of my all-time favorites. But it's interesting in the sense that something like Chrono Trigger is a slightly different style, and I almost liken Chrono Trigger's battle system to something like the Tales of Symphonia, the Tales series. Mm-hmm. Where it's more active, it's more in the middle of it, you're running around different enemies and doing all that stuff, versus a Final Fantasy where it's like, the classic Star Trek, nose-to-nose ship, altercation standoff. You got one line of bad guys and one line of good guys, and who's going to blow the other guy up first.
Yeah.
Which is more in the Final Fantasy vein. I mean, even 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, you really didn't change that formula all too much until you got into 12, and then I poo-pooed 12. But as for like Mass Effect and some of those other guys, I mean that's it's cool, but I don't know if it's like my favorite. I definitely go more for the retro game, I think, than that. I do like and miss good strategy RPGs like Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh yeah,
which was the bomb.
Great game,
especially once you got Orlando, Thunder God Sid. That's when that game turned into amazing, and they had cool Final Fantasy VII references and all that cool stuff. So that game was amazing. It got ported to PSP and a bunch of other portable systems.
The DS had one.
I was gonna say, I know the DS had one. Yeah.
Yeah, DS had, or I think it was even before that. There was
GBA, right?
Yeah, there was Tactics Advanced. Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced.
That was one of the first Square. I remember because Square forever didn't do anything with Nintendo, and I remember that and Crystal Chronicles on GameCube were like the first two Final Fantasy games on Nintendo systems in 7 years or 10 years.
I thought you were going to say that you ever played, and I was like, oh, that's the worst one to start with.
Wait, Crystal Chronicles?
Oh, yeah.
I love that game. Are you kidding? That's like the only Final Fantasy game I ever...
That game...
I had a GameCube. I didn't, whatever. But I love that game. That game's awesome.
That game was only good when you got the chalice that let you go through any of the different zones. Remember how you had to get the right color chalice, and then you had to figure out...
I forgot about that. Okay, now once you got room.
Yeah, once you got the white chalice, you had to go into the desert and get the cactus something, and you went into this cave, and you got the white chalice that lets you walk through any of those. I forget what they called those zones.
I remember it was miasma.
That's what it was, miasma. Yep, that's what it was. God, the fact that you just...
I love that game. I just replayed. Not I didn't beat the whole thing, but
I just brought back miasma.
Like 2 years ago, I think I just played that. I was gonna say, and maybe we'll get into this, but GameCube had some of my favorite RPGs. I don't know, Phantasy Star Online, which is really a Dreamcast game. True. But that's top 5 RPGs for me for sure. Just had to throw that out there. I could go on and on. Do you guys want to list off your favorite RPGs?
Well, yeah.
Or is that kind of what we're doing with the style?
It's kind of what we're doing with the style, unless you haven't mentioned it already. And so, God knows, Brad, you 10 different games that are in your 1,000 in the top 10 of all games.
I will say that my number one style of RPG, and that actually didn't even occur to me until we were talking about action RPGs and stuff, would be the Souls series. Demon Souls in particular is absolutely one of the best games ever made. And every single one of the sequels, and even Bloodborne, which is kind of a sequel, they're all just as good. I just completely love that series. Those are the greatest RPGs ever made by far. But then Elder Scrolls is right up there. I would have to pick Oblivion as my favorite. Phantasy Star Online for GameCube / Xbox / Dreamcast / computer is up there.
Computer.
There's a PC version of that game.
I know. There's a PC version of a lot of things. Just saying.
Yeah. So those are probably my top 3, I would think. My Souls, got my Elder Scrolls, and then I got my fantasy stuff.
A top 3 that consisted of like 9 different games.
Well, I count the whole franchise and series, but
Right.
Pokemon's probably up there, even though I haven't played a Pokemon game since Gold, really. But
I
those
mean,
are still like amazing.
Gold was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I already listed off all my favorites, basically. I mean, I love the Persona series, and that's more recent addition to my long list of RPG, things that I've done. But, I mean, you really can't beat 9 for me. Final Fantasy 9.
Yeah.
That's my favorite game of all time. I love it, and a lot of people disagree. I actually went to a GameStop, and I saw the girl working there had a Steiner and Garnet, or Dagger, depending on who you want to call her, little buttons on her GameStop necklace thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was just like, no way. It's like bonded instantly because it was like, someone else agrees.
Yeah, I love Vivi in that game. In fact, I still have the little stuffed doll that came when you pre-ordered the game.
Oh my god.
Dude, that stupid toy is one of my all-time favorite, most coveted possessions. My wife thinks I'm insane, and she's like, really? You're 30-some years old, and you will not really relinquish this stuffed animal? And I said, shut your face, sister. You don't even know what you're talking about. The memories. But Vivi, great character. I mean, the story in that game was spectacular. I was heartbroken over, the then demise of Alexander, and then he didn't show up for a while, and I was like, oh my god, they killed off the character. I can't like Square games anymore.
Protesting.
Well, that's how I am. I mean, if somebody does something I don't like, I'm like, well, that's why there's other systems, so screw you. Interestingly, one of the things that we didn't actually talk about in the list, and I just slapped my hand while Kyle was talking, one of the types that we've talked about on the show, and we actually have some experts, is MMO RPGs.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't play. I've literally never done anything at all, except for Phantasy Star, which is almost an MMO.
Well,
I literally have nothing to offer.
I mean, and that may not be a bad thing because
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, I mean, really, it may not be a bad. No.
Whoa, okay, jeez, Nick, I'm sorry.
Is Brad on this podcast, Kyle? No, look, the only reason I mentioned it is because we did a big show about WoW with Tony and his wife, and we actually did even a follow-up to that show because it was so popular with our listeners. So to all those people out there say people still play WoW, the answer is yes.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt for a second. Those are like easily some of the most popular games of all time.
Right, and then Final Fantasy 14, of course, is spectacular, especially if you picked up the latest expansion.
Shout out to RuneScape.
Yeah, and many others. And even though people curse this conspiracy rumor, Destiny, a little bit of Destiny has some MMO elements. So really, Brad, you're not totally out of the loop.
No.
Destiny, I do have there's a weird place in my heart for Destiny. As much as I love and hate it, we all know, well documented on the show.
Yeah, well, the Taken King expansion comes out.
Everything I hear about that sounds amazing, and not even just the expansion, but like the patch that goes along with it.
Dude,
like, people like me that won't necessarily get the DLC, like everything about the game is going to change. It's awesome,
dude. I'm totally saying that we do a show. We get together like in person and Twitch that crap.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think it'd be hilarious and just walk through it. I've got a man cave down in my basement, and we'll totally.
Shoot. Oh, and Kyle, they're gonna come out with the pack with the regular game and all 3 expansions, and it's gonna be $60. You should totally jump on that. At that point, I think it's worth it.
I will certainly do that.
And you will love it. Okay, not to.
And then we can all play.
Yeah, we really should play. In fact, I'm wounded that we don't because. I still have yet to play with you, Brad, and this is unacceptable.
I'll go after this podcast. I'll go play right after this podcast.
I can't. I would love to, but I am not in the vicinity of my PlayStation.
Oh, I saw. You're like on vacation or something.
Yeah, I'm out and about, and we still make this stuff happen. I'm just saying. Although I did have a buddy of mine log into my account so that I could get the Galahorn from Missouri this weekend.
Pathetic. But awesome. I'm not pathetic. And I would do the same thing.
It's an obsession. Okay. So, and the obsession is real. Okay, so But I didn't want to not talk about MMOs as a style because it's a huge swath of people. I mean, like 3 million people play Final Fantasy XIV, 5 million people play WoW, and then you have Guild Wars and a myriad of smattering of other games that are out there. So, wanted to make sure that it was mentioned. That's all. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, so there's different types. I would be very curious to know what our listeners think about the different kinds of games. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% positive that Andy and Tony will have something to say. They'll comment on the show, on the article at gamerfeedradio.com, which is where it will be posted.
Listeners.
Yes, everybody that's listening, comment.
It would be sweet to comment. We always
the more you comment, the better everything gets.
Yeah, well, I posted on Facebook, speaking of commenting, I posted on Facebook the Battlefront isn't going to have a real single-player campaign, so to speak, the new Battlefront. I am telling you right now, our Facebook page exploded. That single post has 30 comments.
Jeez.
People were just blowing each other up back and forth. One guy's like, "No, I'm pissed. I'm not playing the game." Another guy's like, "You're an idiot. Nobody needs that crap. Just go shoot things." I mean, it was hilarious. But anyway, so ratcheting back the topics to what we really care about today.
Woo!
So lots of different genres, lots of different types. We all have a history with different games. So we've talked recently about some of the new stuff that's coming out. So I'm very curious to pick your guys' brains on, we'll go down a couple of different games, and compare what's coming to or what's out versus what was in the past. And do we think it's better, worse? We're evolving. We're trapped in, some kind of paralysis from 1998. So we'll just start with the obvious. Final Fantasy. It's gone through 10 million different iterations. We have Final Fantasy 15, which was first announced in 2007. It's still delayed. It's talking about now not even being a 2016 release, which is hilarious to me. It's done a little bit of everything. Go.
I mean, you know what? I hate to say it, but the delay of Final Fantasy 15 kind of tells me that there's really no hope for the series rebounding.
Really?
At least not on a grand scale of the actual series. There'll be spin-offs and they'll be kind of cool, but for the actual main series, I don't see it anymore. I've been very patient, but they keep delaying 15, and everything I see looks good, and I want to play it. I want to see what it's like. But, I mean, it's just taking too damn long.
Yeah.
And for a game that looks almost finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, we talked about this last week. I threw out the whole anxiety theory with they want it to be good. They don't want another Final Fantasy 13 situation on their hands. But you know what? I mean, at some point you got to play your cards, and that particular poker game might have ended a while ago. I mean, I know Brad doesn't give a shit, so
I know I don't have a whole lot to say on it, but
I know.
Yeah, it is hilarious that this game is so obviously in development hell, and just it's never going to come out at this rate.
Chinese democracy of video.
It is, right, yeah. It's just hilarious.
So,
as an outsider, right, I mean, I think it's just kind of sad and funny, but, in theory, they're going to make the game the best it can be because it's being delayed so much, but who knows?
Well, I mean, I guess that actually brings up a really interesting question to me, The series has evolved. It's done a lot of really cool things. It's done some really bad things. It's had spin-offs. It's had mobile games. The mobile game, by the way, is still on the top, 100 downloaded charts of games. Yeah. I mean,
pretty good.
Yeah, and it's fun. And that actually brings up a really interesting thing. So lately, it's all about graphics and processing and technology and open world and all this crazy, crazy, crazy. Why can't they just sink 6 months into cramming all of that into some cool 18 or 16-bit version and bring back a classic retro-type Final Fantasy feel? Why couldn't I do something, that has that really cool classic and very, austere classic type experience where you don't have to do all that graphic intensive crap, and people would love it. I mean, there was I posted a link on our Facebook page today about a dude that created like the first part of Final Fantasy VII in a 2D side-scrolling, double dragon chop 'em style game, and it's got like thousands and thousands and thousands of hits. I mean, why couldn't Square do something like that and lay off the big super Hollywood movie production version?
Because that's what Mega Man did, and look what Mega Man is now.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that. The exact comparison.
I would say that Mega Man 9 and 10 weren't good. They were, but it just kind of seemed like a cop-out for actually progressing the series. And then now Capcom doesn't even pay attention to it anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't think continuing the series by going back to its roots is necessarily the right idea. Unless, spin-offs obviously are fine, and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just feel like people are going to feel left wanting more from a series that's so big. And it's not like they haven't been able to make a grand scale kind of game before and it not be good. I mean, when I think of, I've been playing the remake of Final Fantasy X, I forgot how well done that game is in the grand scheme of things. It's so big, but it's not too big, and it's got great characters and an engaging story.
You played the remake, right?
I'm going through the HD remake right now.
Nice.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's just, I forgot how good that game is, and really, even for the PlayStation 2, that game was visually stunning.
Oh, yeah.
Great story, all that stuff. And so I think, and it was a fully 3D, voice acting and everything. And then after that, just I think something snapped in Square's brain where it was just like, what happened? I'm kind of losing. I'm kind of losing myself here, but
no, I mean, I think what you're basically getting at is, I mean, it's interesting because I hadn't considered the Mega Man comparison, but to me, it's like that's the stuff that I remember the most, and I know it's always easy to say, well, back in my day, it was way better than it is now. So I totally get that. I totally get that. But at the same time, it's like, then they do a mobile game like, the Final Fantasy one that goes back and puts even, more current, future generation characters back in an 8-bit style and a really cool, story mechanic that works and it's fun and everybody's like, oh my gosh, this game is great. So, I mean, I know there's some nostalgia factor there that's playing into the different characters, and I get that, versus an all-new story. I get it. I concede that, but I just wonder why it can't work. I mean, I think the reason Mega Man happened the way it did is because Capcom screwed it up. You know what I mean? And
right.
I think if Square just keeps going down this epic, bigger-than-life, super fancy graphics path, they're going to have a 3 or 4 year development cycle for a title, and ain't nobody going to play their games anyway.
You mean a 10 to 12 year development cycle?
I mean, like, okay, we'll go averages, but yes, exactly. Where it gets so long that, you just can't wait for it anymore. It's like, what the hell's the point?
Yeah, well, I understand that, but I humbly disagree.
Well, you're allowed, and that's okay. I accept your terms. But I think I rather prefer. I think with some glaring exceptions, I think the Final Fantasy games on the original PlayStation 7, 8, 9 were great. I think 10 was good, and I think after that, some people would argue they love 12. I mean, hey, if you're into a big muscly dude at the end, and you call that a great enemy, whatever. I call that Punch Out, but it didn't do anything for me, and so that 10 was really the last good game in the series for me. 12 was all right.
Installments.
13 was meh. 14's great if you're into MMOs. 11 was an MMO, so it's in there too. But that's going to be shut down. So, it's just, I don't know. I just wish, I hope for it to be better, but I feel like 15 is going to be great, but they just keep delaying, and it's like, I think by the time it actually comes out, the expectation level will be so high that Square will never be able to reach it. It'll get lukewarm acclaim, and it'll be, we just spent 10 years in development cycle for nothing.
Yep. No, I totally get that. And I mean, there's not much more else to say about it. It's just, it's stupid. It's really dumb, and it might ruin the series forever, which is a shame because I love this series.
Yep.
And it just, if it's going to end, I'd like to at least have it go out with a bang. But interestingly enough, I did read somewhere that if Square were to remake Final Fantasy VII, that would be the point where they're giving up.
Well, and they're going to do it, and it's going to apparently not even be the same game. They're making tweaks to the story, tweaks to the mechanics, tweaks to the everything. So, that's what they're saying.
Huh.
I mean, that's fine, as long as it's good.
Well, and that remains to be seen when it comes out in 2036.
Right. No, I think it'll come out before 15. I think which will be hilarious.
That would be some kind of epic. I don't know how I feel about that, but okay. So we beat up poor Final Fantasy to death. Let's move on to another series. So another one that we have talked about on this show in the past, and we got all excited about it at E3, even though Kyle had to leave, was Kingdom Hearts 3.
Ooh.
Yep. And I think it's going to be nothing short of spectacular.
And a lot of the pundits agree. There's also a healthy, group of dissidents that think that it looks and sounds like crap, and they're not really thrilled with the details they have at this point.
And they fail to understand is this game is still very early in development.
Right. Yet again, another game that will come out in 2052.
Right. It'll come out in 2017. I have faith it'll come out in 2017.
Yeah, 2017 sounds like it's going to be a baller year.
Oh, yeah.
So far away.
Far away.
Yeah, the rest of this year is going to kind of be...
Here.
Yeah, well, the rest of this year is going to basically be a hot joke. Although
this year's like the greatest year ever. What are you talking about?
Look,
this year's like amazing.
No, I'm talking about RPGs specifically.
Oh, well, I'm still...
Fallout's coming out, and that alone is like...
Okay, and that's going to be amazing. I have to give you that I'm actually... I don't know, Brad, if I was telling you this or if it was on the show with Kyle, but I'm seriously considering picking it up. And that never happens.
Yeah, by all accounts, it's going to be like the easy best game of the year that isn't Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh my God. You just have to. I can't wait till it's really dead. I can't wait till MGS is dead and then you really, really can't talk about it anymore.
Okay. Pause game right now, Brad. You give so much hate to JRPGs for crazy
I don't act for a second like
and their Japanesiness, and then you defend a game like Metal Gear Solid.
I love that.
Japanese.
I totally.
No, it's not even Japanese. It's like some kind of, Amsterdam red light district horror story from the dumpster in the back.
Oh I don't know. I could defend it. I won't do it here because it's not the time and place.
I appreciate you passing.
The thing that I'm not crazy about JRPGs is not just, you got your spiky haired protagonist that's all boogoo. Bothers me. The thing that bothers me is usually like just the length and like the grindiness and like it's like 90 hours for some of these games. It's like I don't want to do that. So, like, the gameplay of a Metal Gear game, it's like a really tight 10-hour action thing rather than a really bloated 90-hour of grinding against, cactuses in the desert, whatever.
8 out of 10 of those hours are cutscenes.
This is true, yeah. It's entirely true. It's like an HBO miniseries. It's in one...
It's not a video game. It's a freaking movie. And so dumb.
No, because the video game parts of the Metal Gear games are like the best games ever. And it's just, even if you literally took away the cutscenes, which I like the cutscenes, but I still think that they're like incredible games.
No, Brad, I think your problem is Naked Snake. I think you're just too much into it.
I do love Naked Snake.
Yeah.
great person, that big boss he is. What?
God.
What? We are now, I can't believe this, but I just...
Did I just say that out loud? What?
What? We are 2 weeks away from the final Metal Gear game, and I don't know how I can handle that. But anyways, that's all.
Well, I think that actually brings up a really interesting thing. We could probably do after you have played it for a week, probably do a brief save point show where you can gush for 20 straight minutes about the amazingness of it.
Sure, and we talked about this, I think, post E3, that maybe I have some issues or, things I'm not crazy, that maybe worry me a little bit. But I will say, to tie it into Final Fantasy, the weird thing about video games compared to any other form of entertainment is, in video games, there's like this need to like keep making sequels. Like there's almost it's a given that any successful game will get a sequel. And like even, I don't know, like obviously in movies, there's certain series that have tons of sequels, especially in horror movies. It's ridiculous, like Friday the 13th, part 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever. It's stupid. But like, I don't know, the Harry Potter things are all based on books, so that's not,
Right. Lord of the Rings trilogy, yeah.
Yeah, like if it's something like that, that's different. But in general, like there's not this perpetual sequel thing that there is in video games. Like in video games, literally these things have been around since the 80s, and they're still like the same names and the same brands and some cases of the same developers. And that's just weird to me that like they don't know when to say like enough's enough. And that's actually the one thing that I had a problem with the Metal Gear Solid series is I think 4 was like the perfect place to end it, and even that was like way overstaying its welcome. But we got like 3 games since then. And like it's just weird. And Final Fantasy is another one where even though the stories aren't related, they just have this need to like Final Fantasy 15. Not to mention the dozens and dozens and dozens of spin-offs, and each of those have sequels, and like it's just so insane in video games.
But it's interesting though that now that you mention that, and this is interestingly related. I think just how the industry has had an impact. You've got movies now starting to take that and run with it. So
yeah, like the Marvel one, even though those are obviously
Star Wars. I mean, come on, Star Wars. Indiana Jones had the fourth one after we thought the first 3 were good enough. I'm waiting for Back to the Future. I'm just waiting for it. There's just like there's just all this stuff is recycling, and I wonder why that is. It's interesting if the movie industry has figured out that hey, if Square Enix can go out and make a Final Fantasy game and sell, $500 million worth of stuff. I could totally do that with a movie, and if it's something that people liked or they thought very highly of in the past or it was critically acclaimed or won awards, they're bringing that stuff back in that genre. So to your point, I think it's interesting that, there was a deviation for such a long period of time, and I think that was the movie industry really, just basically looking at video games and going, ha, are you kidding me right now? But now that video games have a demonstrable impact on, and the lines are blurring more and more and more between, gaming reality and movies. It's interesting to see that happen.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. There's tons of cases of movies having way too many sequels. But in general, I feel like in movies, you might get 1 or 2 sequels and be done with it. But in video games, you get 15 sequels, and they're all given the exact same budget and huge, trying to outdo each other. And it's just, I don't see that really that much in movies at all. And if they do, like you said, like they take 20 years off, like Jurassic Park just took 13 years off between movies or whatever. Star Wars has taken 10 years between the prequels and now, like, I don't know. It's just weird to me.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
No, wait, what prequels? I don't know what you speak of, bro.
Yeah, wait, prequels, huh? What?
Oh, God. Worst business decision ever. Okay, so Final Fantasy, we talked a little bit about Kingdom Hearts. Anything else, Kyle, about Kingdom Hearts that you would like to add?
I mean, Big Hero 6 is lame. It shouldn't be doing that.
I liked Big Hero 6, but whatever.
Did they announce Frozen World already, or not?
No.
Oh, they didn't?
It's going to happen.
Tangled.
Tangled.
Tangled was the other world they announced. That's new.
Yeah, like a modern Disney.
Frozen's going to happen. It's only a matter of time.
Oh my God. It's
Frozen will be DLC. That way they could sell it for $10 and sell
billions and zillions of it. Yeah.
No, they will not do that.
Yes, they will. Okay. Other RPG franchises, I mentioned the Tales series. Rob and I were actually really big into the Tales series in college, and it's very much action-based. There isn't really turns, although there is sort of like a time where you have to wait for, your gauge to refill or whatever so you can do your special moves. And then if you wait long enough and everybody gets it, you can do combo attacks and other things that happen in very much real time. The cool thing about the Tales series, I think, is that it really blended in a lot of anime elements. So it had that anime cartoon cutscene feel. So instead of it being hyper-realistic like Final Fantasy or obviously, Disney and something like Kingdom Hearts, it's a really good mix. The stories are totally Japanese. I mean, weird body possessions when you least expect it, and innocent maidens being saved by, super skinny dudes with long ponytails. I don't know. It's there. I mean, a good series. I haven't really seen much about it recently. It kind of, is what it is.
Did they just announce a new one?
Yeah, I heard something about I know they were going to remake Tales of Symphonia, but I don't know if they're actually doing any more sequels or anything. I haven't seen anything recently. Net new. But I mean, look, it's good. I mean, if you haven't played it before, it's worth a pickup. But I just don't know. It hasn't really stood the test of time, which is interesting to me. And then you have other larger games, like Brad mentioned earlier. You both talked about Mass Effect, but Fallout. So, what do you guys think about those games' prior iterations and what obviously is coming, particularly with Fallout 4? I mean, the launch is imminent.
It's almost here, and I mean, I know, like, I praise the Fallout series so much, but I am so on the fence about it. Mm-hmm. My introduction to this new generation of gaming has just been so poor. Mm-hmm. And again, just because it's a big, awesome AAA title with great acclaim, and the last game was one of the best games ever made, and it doesn't mean it's not gonna hold up. Right? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to hold up. That's right. What I'm saying. And I don't know. I'm weary, but I'm also very excited for it.
I think Bethesda has a better track record than, Ubisoft and EA and all these other places. Like, when they make a game, their last game was Skyrim, and that was even released in this kind of modern era of, cynical DLC, add-on BS, whatever. And they handled it really well. There's no forced companion app, like opening treasure chests with like Assassin's Creed style or stuff in the game. You have to go to the website and there's none of that garbage. They just make these insanely good video games that are so open, so beautiful. And I actually think that might be one of those big stakes in the ground, the new standard for the rest of the generation of all right, everybody be this good. I don't know. I'm really excited about it. And I've never even, to be completely honest, I've never even played or owned a Fallout game, but I'm excited about Fallout 4 just because I love Bethesda so much that, that'll be my first one and I can't wait.
What the actual hell, Brad?
It's not that I don't want to.
Three?
No, I just never had it. I just never got around to it.
You fool!
I know. I would love to, but part of me wants to now make my first introduction to it. This new game.
Oh man, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. I don't disagree. It's a big hole in my, because I know I would love it is the funniest part. I know I would like it. It's just something about it just kind of slipped away, and I never got around to it.
Yeah, same here with me. I never really did, and I know that when they IGN did their E3 show, and they spent an egregious amount of time talking about Fallout 4 and the different features and what they were looking forward to and what their concerns and stuff were. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the game to be quite epic. If it's all that everyone expects and anticipates, I agree with Brad. I think it easily is a Game of the Year type contender, given all of the hype that it's getting. Although I've been burned by hype in the past, Destiny. But
I don't think this is a Destiny. I genuinely don't think you can compare the two. Like, Bungie and Activision, it was kind of shady from the get-go, the whole always online, like all this funny business. But this game is like offline, hardcore, stat crunching, like everything you want in a good RPG.
Right.
Not to mention, I love the way they waited. What?
Maybe some grinding, Brad?
Well, not grinding, but I like games with stats and strategy. I just, I'm not up against, 20 hours in a desert.
I really could have just, died not thinking about Brad and grinding. Okay, I just really...
yeah, no comment. I
didn't forget that.
God.
That's your fault.
Hey,
I apologize.
Everything almost always goes into the gutter with me, so...
I understand.
No, but I also really love the way that they, so many games like Final Fantasy, they announce it like way before it's ready to be shown. They show off some pre-rendered BS that's like, here's our target. This is what we want to do. Fallout 4 was basically done when they showed it off in June for the very first time and said, hey, it comes out in 6 months. And that's like amazing.
And that should be the business model for all games.
Exactly. Don't show it till it's done. Nintendo with Zelda Wii U. Like, just wait. Just don't show us then.
Yeah. I mean, Star Fox got a pass because Star Fox was like kind of teased at E3 last year.
Yeah.
Then it was like, okay, we're officially doing this now. E3, it's coming out in like 6 months.
That's another good one, where we kind of heard about it, but they didn't show it off really until this year, and it comes out later this year.
Saw Miyamoto working on a tiny screen that sort of looked like it might be Star Fox.
Yeah, it was like a tech demo that, it was kind of weird, but...
Exactly. But, yeah.
Even Skyrim was announced less than a year before it came out, and that's, a massive game that any other company would have freaking, pimped out for 3 years. It's just silly.
Didn't I just see a thing about... Was it Skyrim? I think it was Skyrim where now with the new Windows 10 release that, there was just a big deal about it being online or something now. There's like a new mode if you upgraded to Windows 10 or something like that. Maybe I'm totally lying.
I can't. I have no idea.
I have no idea. I think
I neither confirm nor deny.
No, okay. But I mean, you have great series like that where, I think we're really in store for something special. And in comparison, to something like Final Fantasy 15, where the delays just chew away any goodwill I think gamers have for it. And that's to Bethesda's credit, so that's great.
Speaking of, back on the JRPG track, it was just announced recently that Persona 5 is still on track for 2015, which is great because they've revealed very little about that too, which tells me they're kind of doing the same thing that Bethesda's doing and not revealing too much before it's time. And I think Persona 5 is going to come out it's going to come out on time. It's going to be great, and we're not going to know anything about it until it happens. And that's the model I think we should start doing. Not just like, I'm going to imagine a game and you're going to love it, but you can't have it till the end of the year next year. So,
oh my God,
screw you.
Well, but I mean, if you think about it though, it's interesting because that to me, doing a compare and contrast, is a very old school model of game release where you get a few screenshots in a gaming magazine with some dude's commentary who got to see something in a dark room behind closed curtains. And I don't know if that's what gamers want or expect anymore. You contrast that
with... That's what they should want.
Well, but here's the thing. You contrast that with something like... I'm going to use Destiny as an example because it was widely praised for the second expansion, the House of Wolves, where they revealed details, they explained to gamers the value proposition of why they should spend an extra $20 or whatever on the DLC. They did live Twitch streams with actual gameplay. You could see the progress. You could witness the changes live. You knew that before you were going to go plunk down $20, that you basically were walking into a better experience than what happened in the first expansion. So now it's like, see, something like that I kind of like. So for, I know that they're doing a Twitch stream like this Wednesday, and I'm absolutely watching it. But that is, for me, if I've already pre-ordered the game, but my money is not a guaranteed thing. I can cancel that shit anytime I want. So if I witness something that I don't like or that's a big turnoff to me, I have the option of not spending money versus here's 2 or 3 screenshots. It's going to be out on the 1st of October. You're going to love it. Really, I'm supposed to take your word for it? Especially in the world of pre-order, which I know we all hate, but it exists and it's real and it's not going to stop anytime soon. So which would you rather have, right?
I mean, yeah, okay. But at the same time, how am I trying to say this? The hype train.
Yeah.
It goes faster and faster and faster as the release date comes, and the hype gets so high that you're automatically going to be disappointed. So all those years of waiting aren't worth it anymore. Yeah. While with things like Persona 5 and Fallout, where they're just kind of like, hey, we've been working really hard on this. Here's a little sneak peek of what we have going on. And also, the quality assurance also comes from the companies, because Atlas knows their fan base and knows what their fan base expects and has built a good trust with their fan base, as has Bethesda with the Fallout series and Elder Scrolls series. So I guess it does come down to trust issues, I guess, because obviously you're going to trust a company like Atlas or Bethesda over EA or Square.
Exactly, right.
And so I guess, damn it, Nick, you're right.
I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to say one is right versus the other, or that anything that's been said isn't correct or not right. My thing is just, I want, I really want to see, I want to see something for what I'm getting. And if I get that and I see it and, it justifies the expense, I actually prefer that kind of transparency as opposed to, mystery meat in a bag and it might taste good, it might not taste good, but boy, it was cheap. Or, it's the same price as everybody else. So, I don't know. I kind of like that full disclosure for those publishers that choose to do it and do it well and have a history of at least delivering. Whereas in a situation like Destiny, which I bring up as an example because they're very public right now with this PR campaign that they're on to demonstrate the value of why you should spend $40 on, what is considered the next version of the game. And it's like, they're covering all the bases. They're being very transparent. A lot of details are coming out. I mean, every week there's new information. Literally every week on Thursday, there is new information out there. They post it. It's talked about. There's YouTube videos. There's Twitch streams. I mean, it's like they're doing absolutely everything they can to prove to you. And I kind of like, for once, that a publisher is actually doing some work to convince me that their stuff should be purchased instead of, hey, it's out there. I'm going to let you go to IGN or Polygon or one of these other outlets and listen to a bunch of people who have a-hole opinions like we do, and let you decide from that. They're actually trying, and I give Bungie credit for that.
And honestly, Bungie is the best company to do something like that, because up until this point, what else did Bungie do?
Fair, and that's fair.
Yeah.
And so being skeptical of them is completely warranted. But now that they are putting in the work, it's good that they're doing that and gaining trust of gamers. And, I mean, I haven't played Destiny since it came out. So I don't know what Destiny's like now.
Yeah.
It could be mind-blowing. It could be, Bowie, get the hell out of this room. Sorry. My dog just barged in. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally good. So I guess my comparison is, and to be fair, and I do want to be fair, I don't want to make it sound like nobody else is doing this. Square does have regular panels with developers. They have their videos that they post on their YouTube channel, particularly with Final Fantasy XIV, the debacle of the releasing it too soon and then taking it back and re-releasing it and giving regular details and updates. They do like road shows where they go to different comic type conventions and they like have the developers and let them talk. So to be fair, it's not like, the RPG universe isn't doing that. But Square did a good job, I think, with the Final Fantasy 15 demo and releasing it early and letting people kind of get a taste of what's to come. And I thought that was brilliant. But and they're doing the same kind of stuff. But it's in Japanese. You have to listen to it translated. They don't really have the marketing panache to speak to a Western audience in a way that we understand. It's very high Japanese culture, and I'm not saying that's bad, but I just don't think that a lot of gamers are in that space. So if you don't have somebody in English speaking to me in English, I'm largely not interested. I think Nintendo is the one glaring exception there because, Iwata and Miyamoto are, well, in Iwata's case they are legendary, and so they're given a pass.
And they're genuinely fun people.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's entertaining to watch Nintendo's top heads just do really goofy things, all for the sake of selling a game. That's really impressive when you think about it.
Yeah, they don't take themselves too seriously, and I appreciate that. But I mean, my point was that there are RPG companies that like Square that are doing some of that activity, but I just don't think they have the right voice speaking on their behalf, and I think that's the biggest challenge for them.
Well, and you know what? Another thing about Final Fantasy 15 is halfway through development. Well, I couldn't possibly say halfway through because this thing's been going on for 10 years.
Right.
But, a couple years ago, Tetsuya Nomura left to go work on Kingdom Hearts. And you think that has anything to do with the delays and why it hasn't been going so smoothly?
That is interesting. I mean, it's interesting. It's an eerie connection in that regard to, the whole Kojima Konami fallout, even though not to tangent any further, but there was totally a story out this week about how Konami has cameras at every corner of the building and everything is supervised. It's like Big Brother every place.
Jeez.
I mean, seriously, you cannot get in and out of that place. Everything you do is surveillance. Everything is watched.
Jeez.
It's insane.
How can you work in that kind of environment? Those people are idiots. Go build casino machines and get ready to lose your existence. Go for it.
I sincerely hope that they just do away with video games and they let go of all their talent and sell off their IPs and that whole thing needs to go under.
Yep, fade into antiquity.
It's a lose-lose for everybody right now.
Yeah.
Yep, and then we'll all be like, gosh, remember Konami? Remember that? Remember
no, we'll be like, thank God Konami went down. Because
thank God Bethesda or Bungie or somebody bought them up.
Can you imagine, if Nintendo bought Castlevania as a name and then they got freaking Retro Studios to make a Castlevania game?
That would be amazing, but I just don't see that kind of genius coming out of Nintendo these days.
It's true. Instead, we get Skylander Supercharger with some ugly ass Donkey Kong. So that's their version of partnering with third parties.
Yeah, no comment. Okay. So, any other big series? I know, Brad, you mentioned Phantasy Star.
Phantasy Star is a classic one, kind of MMO-y. It's actually hilariously similar to Destiny, except that it's actually good.
Oh my god! I was gonna say you love some Crucible, so don't go there.
Oh yeah, not for a second when I diss the PvP. I love it, but I will give a brief shout out, like I said, to my Souls games. I love Demon Souls is an actual top 5 game for me ever. The Dark Souls 1 and 2 are both amazing. Bloodborne so far is my game of the year. I'm excited for Dark Souls 3. It sounds like it's going to be a mix between the Souls games and Bloodborne, which is perfect because they're both amazing. I will say, have either of you guys ever played a Dark Souls or Demon Souls or anything?
I have not.
I have not either, actually.
If it's ever free on PS Plus, like Dark Souls 2, I know is on PS4. Dark Souls 2 is actually, because the games are notorious for being really hard, Dark Souls 2 is probably the easiest one, I would say. So if you were to start with one, I would actually probably recommend that one.
Well, understanding your skill level compared to my skill level, if you're saying it's the easiest of the hardest games that ever were made, won't even get past the intro sequence.
It's so funny because the games actually do have such insanely hard, first couple boss areas, and then the rest of the game is, pretty much smooth sailing. But literally, even with Demon Souls on through Bloodborne, the first 2 bosses are always the hardest in the game. And it's so funny because it's almost like they're trying to weed players out. They're trying to get people to stop playing that aren't good enough. It's just so backwards compared to so many games. You're like, here's his weak spot. Here's going to shoot this, and then you get all the XP. And these games are like, we want you to quit because you suck and you're horrible and you're ruining the game by playing it. Like, it's so funny. Like,
so what you're saying is you're a little bit of misogynist. You're a little hateful. What? I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
But Dark Souls 2, if you would play one, even for you listeners out there, if you get a cheap copy of it, that's probably the one to start with. And the PS4 and Xbox One versions come with like all the DLC, which, I don't play the DLC, but I've heard it's fine if you're into that thing.
If you're into that thing.
And Bloodborne's amazing too. It's a PS exclusive, so you got to give a shout out to Bloodborne as well.
Your little comments. Like, that's so pretentious. Like, I don't play DLC, because...
I'm just saying, I haven't. I have no opinion on the DLC. But, by all accounts, it's perfectly serviceable addition to the game.
Perfectly serviceable addition. Boy, if you got any more PC with that statement...
No comment.
Yeah, oh my God. You're right, because I could go in so many dark places with that comment. Good. Any other series out there that we missed or could compare to that actually matter?
I do have... It's not really like... I just have a question about it. Did anyone play the DS Golden Sun game?
No, I never played it.
I did not play it.
Okay. Well, to briefly sum it up, it was great. It was just like the old games, but it was a little updated, and it was really good. But this was like 8 years ago, and the game literally ends with a cliffhanger.
Oh, that's so stupid!
A giant ball in the sky. It looks like it's going to destroy the world, and that's how the game ends. And I've gone 8 years wondering what the hell just happened.
Yeah,
what happened to Golden Sun? Like.
That's funny that you say that because we did like a generic RPG show way back towards the beginning of the podcast. It was very generic, and we talked about Golden Sun being one of those series that was so good, and we lost it or whatever. I think it's a good series, and it's a shame that they haven't kept up with it because I think it's got a huge fan base, especially for people who were on GBA back in the day. I mean, other than pushing A all the time to advance text, but yeah, I mean, it's a good series, so I'm surprised.
I think, aren't the people that make that the people that make like the Mario and Luigi and Paper Mario games?
They are. It is.
Might be.
Intelligent Systems? Is that it? That's Advance Wars.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to look this up now.
Camelot Games.
Yeah.
They made Mario Luigi, and they also...
Mario Tennis and Mario Golf.
Yeah, all the Mario Sport games.
That's unfortunate.
So yeah, that's what they're doing. So yeah, they went from Golden Sun to their newest game is going to be Mario Tennis Wii U.
Oh my God, hate.
Oh, that sucks.
I hate that. I hate that.
It's just I'm looking this up. Golden Sun Dark Dawn. I mean, kind of a cliffhanger. That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it literally ended with like dark blackness. Like, what the hell?
Well, they'll bring it back in 10 years like they do with Metroid, and it may be good, it may not be.
Don't talk about Metroid. My heart is still...
Wounded deeply?
Yeah, that's stupid... What's it freaking called?
Other M?
Hunter. No. The Federation Force.
Oh, Federation Force is going to be just
kill me.
Big slap in the face from Nintendo.
Yeah, it looks
so
terrible.
Bad.
It looks
the literal
terrible.
worst thing I've ever seen.
Hey, we're going to announce a new Mario game, a new Metro game, and a new Zelda game. Psych, they're on the 3DS.
And they all suck.
Excellent.
God.
Any other RPG series or anything else that we did not cover in today's programming?
I think we got our favorites out there. We got some classics, and
we voiced some concerns.
Yeah,
definitely, and I think we all can agree that Square needs to get their shit together.
Yep.
And it's just kind of a shame. I don't know, like obviously, the Eastern RPGs. They're still in their stride, I feel like. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
The Western, you mean? Like Skyrim?
Yeah, Western, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Western, sorry. I'm getting my shit screwed.
Oh, God.
But, yeah, the state of state of Japanese RPGs is really in question right now, and I think it all kind of falls on, kind of like the godfather of the entire industry, and that's Square.
Yep.
On whether or not they can produce good products anymore. And while I have complete faith that Kingdom Hearts is going to be amazing, the rest of their stuff is kind of like, well, they're sitting on a lot of stuff, and they're not doing anything with it, I guess.
Right.
And with such like a storied and amazing history as Square has with the RPG and from games, not just with Final Fantasy, but Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, and all those games, it's just they have so much material, and I just don't feel like they're utilizing the best of what they have.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and it's kind of a shame, and they should get their heads out of their asses. And that's how we'll end the show.
I think that sounds fantastic. So if anybody else out there in the universe has any thoughts, comments, jokes, issues, agendas, or concerns about anything that we've discussed today, feel free to throw it into the comments on our Facebook page at GamerFeed Radio. You can also shout us out on Twitter at GamerFeed Radio, which we actually are getting all kinds of likes and favorites and things. On all the things that we post. You should check it out. Original content and all the podcasts are posted through GamerFeedRadio.com, so be sure to check us out there. And, of course, every week, you can check us out on iHeartRadio with our newly revised logo and on iTunes, available for download. Tell all your friends. Until next time, the Gators. Peace.